Hello, welcome back to the video lecture series for Introduction to the Art of Programming using Scala. This will be our last video where we're looking at implementing the project. I don't want to spend too much more time on this for this chapter. This is our fifth video. So I just want to put in a few more options, and these actually will deal with polymorphism, so they kind of go here, and then we'll continue building as we go through the other chapters. So to remind ourselves of where we are, we have our client, it runs, we can log in, and the semesters are active, and they give us courses. The courses don't do anything when we click on them, and really that's kind of what I would like to start talking about here. Also, we made it so that if you log in as a student, you only get to see the semesters and courses that you're part of. Unfortunately, our student isn't actually part of any courses, so it's rather boring there. So the next question is, what should this look like when we click on a course? And this is a little bit of analysis that we haven't really done yet. We've kind of talked about the fact that something needs to go over here, but we haven't talked in detail about what goes inside of a course. In fact, there's going to be some activities. And in some ways, what I'd kind of like to do at this point is just lay out the GUI a little bit, make it so that it is different for, say, students and for instructors. In fact, probably for this to work, I will have to add our student to at least one course, so we'll have to, maybe that's the first thing that we should do. Over here, I'd like to have, so I actually want this to look probably pretty different for students and instructors. And I'm going to focus, at least first on what the instructor wants, and maybe we won't get quite to implementing the GUI for the student. I want to add another panel in here. So for the instructor, what I'd like to have is have it so that this area that's up in here shows a list of the different activities, and you have the ability to add and remove from the list and to the list, and have it so that when you click on them, you can see kind of a basic information about the activity. That's kind of what I'm picturing. So there's a list view with buttons for add and remove, and then kind of a preview pane for activities, and maybe a button to edit that activity, which would have to pop up a whole nother window for an activity editor. I'd also like to pull this bottom part in here and make it a split pane, so that the split pane, the bottom part, includes a table that is going to show, at least when you're an instructor, it shows the spreadsheet for all the students' grades, and then two other sections, one of which shows kind of a preview. So if you click on a grade, it shows you a preview of the student's work in that area, and depending upon what it is, that might vary. And then another thing where you can type in comments about it. Okay, so that's what I want to add into our GUI. But as I said, I want those, for example, those features should look that way for an instructor, and they should look different for the student. So one of the things that would be nice to do is to have it so that, let's see, courses, it's a private var. How can we do this? So we need the server main after it creates this last thing. I would actually like to say something like semesters.head, which would be a semester dot get course of 0, which would be the first course, dot add student of users sub 1. Okay, now, so I have to make it so this works. So right now the semester doesn't have a get course. We will have to add that into here. Whoops. Def get course. Index is an int equals courses, not sources, courses, sub index. That is a method that really should not be there, but we need it kind of for our testing, so that pushes the error a little bit further down. Now our course needs an add student. This function might actually stay here. And what this one is going to do is students cons equals stu. Oops. UDENT. My fingers like to type in string instead because we type in string a lot. There is one error still here. Students is not, or users does not contain students, it contains users. Okay, so this is a list of user, and this is a type mismatch because not all users are students, for example. We know that that would be an error. Once again, I'm going to do something that is a little bit sloppy here just because I need to get this in there to test things, and I'm going to force this to see users as a student. Okay, so you can call on objects. There's an is instance of and an as instance of, and the general rule in Scala is never, ever, ever use these. And so, this is again, I want to put in a reminder to get rid of that. I happen to know, so the problem is what happens if you call as instance of and the thing that you are converting is not of that type? Well, then your program crashes. It throws an exception. So this is generally an unsafe thing to do. In this case, though, this is just some hard-coded stuff in there for testing, and so we want to be able to see if this works. We can actually see now, hopefully, assuming that everything we wrote before, because technically we weren't able to really test this, JDO, password, bingo. We have that, and it shows the one course. Okay? Whereas there are 2 semesters here. JDO doesn't get to see both of them because JDO is only in one of the semesters, and there are 2 courses in this semester, but JDO only gets to see one of them. So that is working the way we expected. And now we can go and we can look at our GUI and decide how we want to do things. So first off, at the top level, inside of our frame, I want to, this border panel is no longer kind of at the top level. Split pane, and a split pane takes, the standard way to construct this is with 3 arguments. Okay, the first argument is the direction. And I have to remember, I don't use this often enough to remember if, I think it's the direction of the bar, in which case I want this to be split horizontal. And then the other argument down here is going to be something that we haven't created yet. And I guess the way this is formatted, I'm good with that there. The grade panel equals, I'm just going to make a new 1-by-1 grid panel. Other things are the fact that right now we don't have the thing that goes in the center, so we put this, this grid off to the west. We actually should have layout plus equals new, actually should be course options panel in the center, and I'll define now you might wonder why I'm doing a 1-by-1 grid. This makes it easy for us to have things that are kind of whether it should only hold one item, you can take it out and you can put stuff in, and by giving it a name, it makes it easy to take stuff out and to put stuff in. So if we run this, make sure we don't have any errors. Now by default, our split pane is starting off way up there. I'm going to try to modify that a little bit. I'll put a body on here and say I need to bring up the menu so that we can see this. Believe it. Okay, divider location as a can be set as a double. Now, I will admit, when I have tried this in the past, this is not always something that works well for me, and I think part of that is because I'm setting it before the GUI pops up. Yeah. So I'm not going to worry about it too much at this point. That is something that is purely aesthetics, and if it becomes an annoyance later on, we can deal with it. I mainly want it to be a split pane so that the user has the ability to either see more of the top or more of the bottom, depending upon what it is that they're doing in the application. Because the spreadsheet is going at the bottom, there might be lots of times where after you've selected all your courses, you just want to really make that bottom part big so that you can see what's going on there. So now the question is, what happens when we click on something in our course list? So right now, our semester list is active and doing stuff, and our course list is not. So let's go ahead and listen to our selection and listen for selection changed. And what should we do when the selection is changed? Well, we go into that course and we need to pull off certain information from it. And then basically I need to set the contents of grade panel and course options panel based upon that course. And so first thing, actually one thing that we should do here, this dot selection dot interval mode equals, we're inside of a list view, interval mode. Well, I have to hit the API for this, so we'll, and I don't feel like doing that right now. I would like to make it so you can only select one course. It really does not make sense for you to be able to select multiple courses. I'm just trying to see real fast if there's anything else in here that we can play with that would limit it. It really is setting the interval mode that we would want to do. So we can come back and play with that in a later video. When the selection is changed though, so for now I'm only going to take the beginning and I'm going to say if selection dot items dot non-empty, then I do something. If it's empty, actually if it's empty, this is real easy. We say grade panel dot contents there's a remove all clear. There we go. Grade panel dot contents dot clear, and then what was our other panel? Course options panel. Contents dot clear. You know, actually now that I think about it, I want to do this either way, and I'm going to do it up front, because if I did select something, what I'm going to do inside of here is I'm going to replace or add to the contents of those things the items. Now the question is, what should I add inside of here? What should we add inside of here? Well, that depends upon the type of user that we have. And this is where the polymorphism comes in. Now, what I'm about to show you is arguably not the ideal way to do this. There's actually a design pattern that's called the model view control, MVC, and that would give you an alternate way of doing this. But the thing is, I want these panels to look different based upon whether it's a student viewing them or whether it's an instructor viewing them. And so a fairly easy way, assuming we're always doing this inside of Swing, and the limitation here is what I'm about to code is only going to allow us to do this in Scala and Swing, which for our purposes, that's fine. For larger projects, that might not be ideal. I want to write some two abstract methods into our class user, and in fact this will be an abstract class user in just a second, because I want get options panel component, and I want this to be the Swing component, and then def get bottom panel is also a component. Now, by putting those in there, I now have an error in both student and in instructor because they did not include them. Okay. Implement. Whoops, I imported the wrong thing here. There's a problem with, actually let's just go ahead and do this, do one import. Okay. That is what we have for our student, and I'm not going to even think about how to write the student at this point. Oops, actually, all of these need some additional information in that they need the course. So if I want to build the panel, I have to build it based upon data from the course. And so we go to our instructor. Go back to our student now. Okay, so the student's happy, and just to make this so that it compiles, I will go ahead and do that. And so now when I run this, and it turns out we really shouldn't see, that's course, that's not going to run. There we go. We're not going to see much of a difference at this point. In that, it is swapping stuff in and out. We can't really tell, but we've set up the foundation for making it so that if you're logged in as a student, when you click on this, you get the panels that are produced by a student, and if you're logged in as an instructor, you will get the panels that are produced by an instructor. And we'll fill that code in a later video. That's it for now. See you again soon.